Getting high and destroying relationships often goes hand in hand. It's hard to think about anybody else when you gotta get your fix. So in this video, let's go over 3 ways you can have better relationships and recovery, and some principles you can follow to live an easier life in sobriety. It's important to remember that a relationship isn't just a boyfriend or a girlfriend. This is simply anybody in your life that you have a connection to. And it's not necessarily just friends either. Like Brad Pitt, why have you not answered my friend request on Facebook? I even made a video about you. Life is all about relationships, and addiction is quite good at destroying them, especially in early sobriety. The first suggestion is to avoid romantic relationships in the first year of sobriety. They told me this when I got into rehab, and what did I do? I got into a relationship in rehab. Whee! And the reason to avoid these is because A, it's a distraction, but B, it's because I didn't even know who I was. I didn't know that early sobriety should be about focusing on myself, working on healthy boundaries, working the 12 steps, going to group meetings, creating a balanced lifestyle, and seeing a therapist. But I'm addicted to feeling okay, not necessarily to booze. When I was using, the substance or substances or behavior became the most important thing, and everything else came second. All I cared about was getting alcohol or getting something to make me feel okay. The dopamine rush of a romantic situation can feel really similar to getting high. It's the same mentality of I need something outside of myself to make me feel better. And I didn't care about anybody else's feelings other than my own. A lot of the love that I would give would be conditional. A whole bunch of codependent tendencies would reveal themselves. And I define codependency as if you're not okay, then I'm not okay. The second part is I didn't know who I was. I was coming out of this mental fog brought on by continuous alcohol drinking. I spent my entire life escaping and running away from reality. I was using the relationship to mask feelings of the fear of being alone or the fear of not being good enough. Low self-esteem followed me everywhere, and it was impossible to shake. And the whole thing ended in relapse and disaster. I didn't understand that when I put down the alcohols, I picked up love, which the brain doesn't care what a thing is as long as it provides that rush of dopamine. If wearing a pointy hat gave me a consistent dopamine rush, then you bet I would always wear a pointy hat. The fix here is to try to stay out of romantic relationships in the first year of recovery. Instead, focus on building friendships and getting that rush of dopamine somewhere else, like exercise. I didn't know that I was just using love to feel better, and my attempts at being a loving partner was actually just harmful codependency. The second thing to having better relationships in sobriety is honesty. This is often a very hard thing to do, because I didn't know what friendship was until I got sober. Friendship and addiction was all about what can I get from you, or how can you validate my messed up behavior. I was solely focused on elevating my social position, attaining alcohol when I was a minor, or simply just using someone so I didn't have to be alone. It was only when I started being honest with people that I could build something that was just more than an acquaintance. Because before I was honest, I was telling you what I thought you wanted to hear, or what I wanted you to hear. It was important that you thought of me in a certain way. The cool guy, the funny guy, the guy that you always wanted to have around. But when I got sober and I needed help with all of these crazy emotions, I showed up and I started telling people in recovery that I wasn't doing okay. I would tell them my mistakes, my regrets, my hopes, and my fears. And instead of being rejected, which I always feared the most, they would share their own feelings. Often they would say they felt or experienced the same things I did. So it was in being vulnerable that I was actually able to connect with people in a meaningful way. Because if you don't know the real me, then how can I possibly build anything online? I tried that for many years, but at some point, it becomes impossible to keep up the lie that I want people to believe. This principle also works to fix broken relationships. I think one of the greatest fears humans have is being seen for who they really are, their actual feelings, wants, and desires. And when I went back to some people that I had harmed and said sorry, that I made a boo-boo or a bushel of boo-boos, often I wasn't met with anger, but love. If I showed up to those people and was like, I'm super better now and how you treated me was totally wrong, TBH, that would have not been a positive thing to do. So I had to be honest in saying, look, I'm an alcoholic, I messed up, how can I make things right? One of the greatest fears I have is somebody seeing the real me. Because without the suit of armor of fame or money money or alcohol or six-pack abs, I am exposed to getting rejected. But being honest allowed me to find other people in recovery that saw the real me and liked me anyway. And it was then and only then did I know what real friendship actually is. So number 3 is pro mode, and this is putting concerns of other people before your own. But what about me? I need to take care of myself. I can't sacrifice my own well-being for others. It's unhealthy. Look, let's get another perspective on this, and I'll use myself as an example. I found my addiction issues to be centered in my mind and my self-centeredness. Selfishness brought me to a place where I sacrificed everything and everyone to feel okay. And it destroyed everything I had, including the relationships I had with people that actually cared about me. And from this selfishness stems all of the fears that I have. And from the fears, all of those actions that I take to try to hide or mask or deal with those fears. So to counter all of this mess, I choose to focus on something else. Other people. If I'm not too focused on what I think I need and what I think I need my life to look like, then I can show up and help other people. And the crazy thing is everything works out a lot better when I'm not focused on myself all the time. And relationships for me is all about how can I make things better for somebody else. No strings attached. No expectations, no nothing. I simply lend my ear, call them, help them move, or give them a ride. If I'm seeing how I can meet the needs of other people, then my needs get addressed as well. Magically. But I'm being serious. And of course this means don't, ignore your own well-being. This principle is saying that service to others will solve my problems a lot better than if I was to just focus on my problems only. Because when I focused on me all the time, I ended up depressed, miserable, and drinking all day. Doing my best to focus on others and how I can meet their needs has allowed my life to be way better than it could have ever been if I was just only focused on me. Thanks for watching today's videos on 3 ways you can make relationships better in recovery. I might do a deeper dive into each one of these because there is a lot to unpack here. But the principles of staying out of a romantic relationship in the first year, honesty and service to others will make remarkable improvements in your life. Please subscribe for your daily dose of soberness, and I will see all of you in the next video.